All right, so we're diving into a pretty captivating case this week, the disappearance of Kelsey Barth. It's Thanksgiving Day 2018, and this young mom just vanishes seemingly into thin air from her Colorado condo.
Wow.
Her car is there, belongings are untouched. Even the groceries for her Thanksgiving meal are just sitting there waiting to be cooked.
Oh my gosh.
It's like she stepped out for a second and just completely disappeared.
That's so eerie.
We've got news articles, police reports, and even court transcripts to help us try to piece together what happened.
Okay. Sounds like a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is.
So, what's the initial takeaway? I mean, was there anything suspicious about the scene itself?
That's what's so interesting. Initially, there were no immediate signs of foul play at all.
Really?
The police did a welfare check. No forced entry. Everything seemed to be in order, except, obviously, for Kelsey's absence.
Right.
It's almost as if the scene was intentionally staged to make it look like nothing was wrong.
Okay. So who was Kelsey Barth?
Yeah, what kind of person just disappears? Especially not from their 1-year-old daughter. From the sources we have, she sounds like she was a woman with a bright future. She was a flight instructor training U.S. Air Force pilots.
Wow.
Someone who was ambitious, loved her family, and was dedicated to her daughter.
So the fact that she just vanished, leaving her child behind, that's what's so perplexing about this whole case.
Yeah. It just doesn't fit with the profile we have of her.
So tell me about her fiancé, Patrick Frzy. What was their relationship like?
They had one of those whirlwind online romances, a quick engagement, and she even relocated to Colorado to be with him. But from the sources, it seems like things weren't all sunshine and roses between them.
I was going to say, those whirlwind romances, maybe they don't give couples enough time to truly get to know each other.
That's true. And they weren't actually living together. She had her condo and he was living at his family's ranch, so that physical and emotional distance likely put a strain on their relationship. So Thanksgiving Day rolls around. Kelsey is at her condo, getting ready for the holiday. She even chatted with her mom about recipes and mentioned Patrick wasn't feeling well. But after that, nothing. Silence. Days go by. Kelsey doesn't contact anyone. Her mom, Cheryl, is understandably starting to panic. When she finally gets in touch with Patrick, his story is, well, suspicious to say the least.
So what's his alibi? What's he saying happened?
He claims they broke up that very day on Thanksgiving and Kelsey just took off, leaving their daughter with him.
Okay.
He also mentions that he returned Kelsey's gun to her earlier that day because she had threatened suicide. I mean, what are the chances of a breakup happening the same day she disappeared?
Yeah, the timing is definitely odd. And why even focus on the gun?
Exactly.
If she were suicidal, she'd have taken the gun with her.
Right.
Doesn't add up.
And it gets even stranger. He says he last saw her in the alley behind her condo when they exchanged their daughter. Why not go inside? Why the alley? Wouldn't he have needed to go into the condo at some point to grab diapers, a change of clothes, something for the baby?
It's just another detail that really caught the investigators' attention.
Yeah.
Then Patrick's mother, Sheila, gets involved and starts saying that Kelsey probably just ran off.
Right.
But as we've talked about, that doesn't match up with anything known about Kelsey. So many conflicting accounts so early on in the investigation.
Yeah, red flag after red flag.
Hmm.
But then comes the real game changer.
Oh.
Kelsey's brother discovers a blood smear in her bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And now it's not just a missing person case. It shifts the whole investigation to a possible homicide. And that's when the Colorado Bureau of Investigation steps in.
The CBI, right. The state's top law enforcement agency. They've got the specialized resources and expertise to handle these really complex investigations. That really signals just how seriously they were taking this case, huh?
Yeah. They find more blood evidence, confirmed to be Kelsey's, and suddenly Patrick is right at the center of this investigation.
Makes sense.
They wanted to verify his alibi, check on Kelsey's daughter, and question him further. But according to the police reports, when they approached Patrick at a local restaurant, he refused to speak without a lawyer.
Classic, right?
Yeah.
Someone lawyers up that quickly. Well, it can often indicate they know they're in hot water, legally speaking. But luckily, investigators had another avenue to explore. Phone records.
So those phone records, they ended up revealing some pretty key details, right?
Yes, for sure.
Like those odd text messages between Patrick and Kelsey. But remember, this was after she supposedly disappeared.
Right. And the content of the messages is strange, too. They were brief, very impersonal, almost like someone was trying to, I don't know, create a digital trail to cover their tracks.
Interesting.
And then this is where the story takes us to Idaho.
Wait, what? Hundreds of miles away? What's in Idaho?
Well, Kelsey's phone actually pinged in Idaho,
Okay.
and Patrick's phone records, they show a bunch of calls to that same area.
So this long-distance connection adds a whole other layer of intrigue to this whole thing, right?
Absolutely. It certainly piqued the interest of the investigators.
Yeah. And then Crystal Lee enters the picture. She was the person on the other end of those calls to Idaho.
Okay.
When investigators first reached out to her, she denied even having any real connection to Patrick, or even being in Colorado around Thanksgiving.
Let's say she lied.
Yeah.
You can imagine how those initial lies would raise some eyebrows, huh?
Oh, sure.
But then when they dug deeper into her phone records, things got really interesting. Dozens of calls with Patrick in the days after Kelsey vanished. Some even placed near Kelsey's condo.
Wow.
So yeah, she was definitely in Colorado.
So what did they do? They couldn't just let her slip away, right?
Of course not.
Mm.
They realized they needed to speak with Crystal Lee directly, so they traveled to Idaho to interview her.
Okay.
The report suggests that Crystal, realizing she'd been caught in the lie, she agreed to an interview, but insisted on having her lawyer present.
Makes sense, when you realize the walls are closing in.
Right.
But that must have been nerve-wracking for those investigators, though, right? Still having no idea what she was going to reveal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. She could have just clammed up, stuck to her story,
Yeah.
and there wouldn't have been much they could do.
Right.
But, there's always a chance she might crack under pressure. And in this case, they were prepared to offer Crystal a deal. A queen for a day proffer.
Queen for a day. I've heard that phrase before, but what does that actually mean in, a legal context?
Well, basically it means that Crystal would get immunity from prosecution for anything she revealed during this interview, as long as she was being completely truthful.
So essentially a free pass in exchange for the whole story.
Exactly.
A risky move for both sides, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. High stakes.
Yeah. She avoids charges, but has to be completely honest. And investigators get information, but they have to trust that she's not holding anything back.
Right. And what Crystal revealed was absolutely shocking. She told those investigators that Patrick had murdered Kelsey.
Oh my God.
And she didn't stop there. She went on to share these horrific details about, how the murder happened and what Patrick did with Kelsey's body.
Did she describe how Kelsey was actually killed?
Yes, but I think perhaps even more chilling is that she revealed that Patrick had actually asked her to kill Kelsey on 3 separate occasions before Thanksgiving.
Wait, so he was trying to get someone else to kill her? What would possess someone to even, think to do that?
It's disturbing, for sure, and it shows a level of premeditation that's, truly frightening. This wasn't some crime of passion. This seems like a calculated, cold-blooded plan.
Wow, so we've got a confession now. What happened next? Did they arrest Patrick right away?
Not quite.
Mm.
I mean, while Crystal's testimony was a huge break in the case, they still needed to corroborate her story with physical evidence.
Right, make sure she wasn't just making it all up to save herself.
Exactly.
So where do they even begin to look for evidence weeks after she disappeared?
Well, luckily, they had a pretty solid starting point. Crystal's detailed description of the events and Patrick's property.
Okay.
They were able to find traces of Kelsey's blood in the back of Patrick's truck. And on his property, in a burn barrel, they found bone and teeth fragments that were later confirmed to be Kelsey's.
Oh my God. It's like they were piecing together a puzzle, but with these incredibly gruesome pieces.
No, I know. And in this case, it provided that undeniable proof needed to actually connect Patrick to the crime.
So how did he kill her? I can't even imagine what was going through her mind in those final moments.
What Crystal described is truly horrific. Patrick, according to her, lured Kelsey to her condo under the pretense of picking up their daughter. Once she was inside, he attacked her with a baseball bat,
Oh.
ultimately beating her to death while their daughter was in another room.
It's unimaginable. Such brutality, and the fact that their daughter was right there in the house, it just makes it so much worse.
It really does. And it's a stark reminder that domestic violence can happen anywhere, even in seemingly normal, loving relationships. It's a serious issue, and it deserves a lot more attention and awareness.
So with Crystal's testimony and that physical evidence, investigators finally had enough to arrest Patrick Frzy.
Yes. He was charged with first-degree murder and a number of other offenses related to the crime.
Wow.
The trial, it became this national sensation with the details just captivating the entire country.
So Crystal Lee, the woman Patrick tried to involve in this whole crazy scheme, she ends up being the key to unraveling this entire case. It's pretty wild how someone who could have been an accomplice ends up becoming the prosecution's star witness.
Yeah, really is. Her account is chilling. Yeah.
Oh.
It really provides a window into Patrick's manipulative tactics. According to Crystal, he initially tried to convince her that Kelsey was abusing their daughter.
Oh,
He
wow.
painted himself as this desperate father just trying to protect his child.
So he was trying to manipulate her sense of morality, playing on her compassion to justify his actions.
Exactly. He wanted Crystal to believe that killing Kelsey was, well, not only justifiable, but a necessary act.
Wow.
Thankfully, Crystal didn't buy it. She saw through his lies.
That must have been incredibly difficult for her, though, knowing what he was capable of. I mean, she could have easily been another victim.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's important to acknowledge the emotional toll this whole experience must have taken on her. Think about it.
Yeah.
She was grappling with guilt, fear, and just the weight of knowing a terrible crime had been committed.
And yet she still chose to do the right thing, even if it meant putting herself in danger.
Absolutely. And her decision to cooperate was crucial in bringing justice for Kelsey. The trial was a media frenzy, captivated the nation, and Crystal's testimony, it played a significant role in the outcome.
I bet. I can only imagine the tension in that courtroom. Did Patrick ever confess to the murder?
No, he never did. He maintained his innocence throughout the trial, but the evidence against him was overwhelming.
Yeah.
The jury found him guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow. Life in prison, a fitting sentence for such a horrific crime. But it doesn't bring Kelsey back. What about her family? How do they even begin to heal from such a devastating loss?
It's an unimaginable tragedy, really.
Yeah.
And the fact that the person responsible was someone she trusted, her fiancé, someone who was supposed to love and protect her, that makes it all the more heartbreaking. And while justice was served, nothing can erase the pain and emptiness her loved ones must feel.
This deep dive into the Kelsey Barth case has been a whirlwind, really, from the initial mystery to the shocking revelations and that final verdict. A story of betrayal, manipulation, and the fight for justice.
It's also a stark reminder of the dark reality of domestic violence and how important it is to be able to recognize those warning signs, to seek help if you or someone you know is in danger. A reminder that even in seemingly idyllic communities, these hidden dangers can lurk beneath the surface.
Yeah. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this lingering question. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Were there any missed signals, any opportunities to intervene before it was too late?
It's a sobering thought.
It really is.
And perhaps, this case can serve as a call to action for all of us. We have a responsibility to be vigilant, to look out for each other, and to speak up if we see something that seems amiss. If even one person had noticed something and acted, maybe Kelsey would still be with us today.